today. One thing which I will request from the bottom of my heart is that for each panelist, when they come and grace the stage, please put your hands together. These are the stalwarts of the oil and gas economy in Pakistan, and it's up to us to make sure that they know that we respect their opinion today as well, and we are honored by their presence. So first, I would like to invite on stage President and CEO of UEPL Pakistan, Mr. Mausoof Ahmed, please. Thank you. Next, I would like to invite on stage ED Petroserve OGDCL, Mr. Amir Salim. Thank you. Please put your hands together for Director New Business and Subsurface, Mr. Muhammad Asim Subhani from Prime Pakistan. Please invite on stage Mr. Hilal Al-Busaidi, Regional Vice President, SLB. And lastly, upon his own request, and with all the honor and pleasure, please put your hands together for Mr. Fahim Haider, CEO of MPCL. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we will start the panel discussion, and just for the benefit for the audience as well as the panelists, this panel will be sort of a three-round panel questions, where we will first start the panel by asking a generic question, which is going to be answered by all the panelists at the beginning. It's a holistic question about the oil and gas industry in Pakistan, and then we will have two rounds of questions with each panelist with 3 to 5 minutes of answer time as well. At the end of the panel discussion, we will expect to have 20 to 30 minutes available for the questions. You have, like I said, the big names of the industry in front of you, so please do have your questions ready. We will have the mics available for you to ask your questions as well. So at the start, once again, I would like to thank all the panelists for being here and gracing the occasion today. So I will start, in the order of the seating that we have with Fahim Saab. It's a generic question that if you, have sort of a prism in front of you and you can see 10 years from now, where do you see the oil and gas industry in Pakistan a decade from now, sir?
Oh, it's on the red. Okay, sorry. So, Zoro, is a very, very good question. In my view, the next 10 years are very, very critical for Pakistan oil and gas industry, because either after these 10 years, we will have an industry which is lasting another 50 to 100 years, or we will not have an industry at all. Obviously, I've come back to Pakistan after spending 20 years not from here, but now I have a very good understanding of the potential we have in the conventional basins, potential we have in the tight gas basins, potential we have in the offshore basins, and I think we need to have a plan. So, majority of the conventional onshore basins still have significant remaining potential in my view, and some of it is obvious with what has happened in the last 3 years. The discovery made by Al-Hajj, the discovery made by OGDCL in the Wali block, Waziristan discovery made by Mari, and more importantly the Ghazish play opening discovery in the Mari field. I mean, they still tell you that we need to look at things with a closer eye and in a systematic manner. There is still bypass plays, there is still play extensions, there is still, new potential which is available in the country. And there are many other blocks which have been logged due to security reasons and litigation and all those sort of things. So there are a lot of positive things which have happened in the last 2-3 years. There have been 3 to 4 new bid rounds. People have acquired new acreage. A lot of blocks, the seismic is ongoing. There is exploration drilling which is ongoing. And I see in the next few years, we will have good news with regards to new discoveries, new production coming on stream. And in parallel, we are working with the government, as you might have heard the minister yesterday, to sort out all the other issues which are kind of hindering the investment in the sector. Rather is security, rather is fiscal, is tax, it's policy amendments. So I think we have to continue working in parallel on these two things. And if we can demonstrate as an industry that we are able to deliver and bring increase in domestic production and increase in domestic reserves, then obviously the more targeted, difficult plays could be next in line. And if tight gas play has 30 TCF of gas, I mean that's going to last for some time. Correct. So I'm very optimistic.
Thank you very much. I think this is definitely music to our ears as the oil and gas industry, as the optimism that Fahim Saab has talked about. So Masood Saab, just your opinion on the same question. How do you see the field in 10 years from now?
I'll start off with a story about a gentleman who was considered one of the top explorers in BP. My heritage previous company was BP and knew that gentleman very well. When he retired as the group vice president of exploration, his colleagues gave him a very, very large trophy. Okay. It was a couple of feet in size. And on that trophy was listed every opportunity that he had missed. Yeah. So here also in Pakistan, I hear people talk about lack of prospectivity. I don't believe that to be true. We haven't explored, and I think the minister quoted a number 70%. I believe that 70% of Pakistan is yet to be explored. And what we find is, even after many, many decades of exploring in Pakistan, there are still new plays opening up. So it actually depends on the people sitting in this room what the future of the E&P industry in Pakistan will be 10 years from now. There is a lot of opportunity. Is there enough willingness to take the risk to convert that opportunity into produced hydrocarbons? Okay. And from what little I've seen, I don't think there is a lack of skill. I do feel there is a lack of taking risk. And yes, there are constraints as far as where you can operate and where you cannot operate, but some companies have shown us that in areas which were previously considered to be sort of the red zone, out of bounds, companies couldn't go. Companies have gone there and made discoveries. So 10 years from now, a lot of bright prospects. It depends on the people sitting in this room whether they're able to realize them or not. Thank you.
So very well said, sir. We'll touch some more detail on some of the aspects pointed out by Masood Saab as we go through the directed questions as well. So Amir sir, similar question to you as well. How do you see from an NOC's perspective and generally from Pakistan's perspective, where do you see oil and gas in Pakistan 10 years from now?
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, just to build from, what Fahim Saab and Masood Saab said, I mean, as far as the OGDCL is concerned, I mean, we are sitting on the largest portfolio in Pakistan. And I think there's a big responsibility on us to further explore. And I think the biggest opportunity that we see is basically the production optimization. Given the large portfolio we have in terms of enhanced oil recovery, production optimization, that is the area where we see that we will be focusing very high, and that's our opportunity. And that's obviously, once it's our opportunity, that's the country opportunity. And on the other aspect, yes, exploration. We have to go for high risk, high reward exploration. So these are the two areas that at least we see growing, and obviously there will be other opportunities coming up in new energy ventures. Certainly we can expand a bit more.
Thank you very much. I think rightly put as well. I think as you start looking at the transitioning of the energy sources from oil and gas to new energy side as well. So Asim Saab, pointing the same question to you, especially from the Prime's perspective itself.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum ji. Thank you for your giving me the opportunity to say on this. So basically, I would rather say that it's basically, if you consider that as in the world, oil and gas industry in 10 years times, they already considered that the oil and gas industry, they need to invest more on the renewable side, or they consider that energy, it will be considered as an energy industry rather than a pure oil and gas industry. And that is true. So answering to your question, that what we see as Pakistan, what the oil and gas industry in Pakistan will be considering, let's call it this way. I believe that we must look at other ventures also, which are closely related or interlinked with the oil and gas, which includes, of course, geothermal, which is one of the good thing that people should start looking at it today. And then, of course, with the passage of time, they can be considered in future also.
Thank you very much. I think very exciting to see when the private companies also start talking about the transition and expansion in the broad field as well. So Hilal, from a service company's perspective, from SLB in particular, how do you see yourself in Pakistan 10 years from now?
So, Assalamu alaikum everyone. Pleasure to be with the industry leaders here in Pakistan today. Thanks for the invite. What I would like to say that the common phrase that Pakistan SLB team like to use, we are in SLB since, we are in Pakistan since Pakistan, right? We are completing 75 years. And we have been contributing basically to the market with our partners on this industry, and we would like to continue to do that. Looking at it from the regional perspective, the industry is looking into changing the revenue mix, the energy mix, and it is important to look into how can that be achieved, right, to ensure having the energy that is affordable, sustainable, and reliable source. So the oil and gas as an industry will continue to be progressive. However, as we progress with time, right, we will be depleting the easier, reservoir, and we will be going into more complex reservoirs, which will need basically the implementations of, higher technologies, digital machine learning and AIs to basically enable those fields to start the production. And I think as well on the decarbonization and sustainable, energy. I think the oil and gas as a sector are the most who have that knowledge to help basically the world to decarbonize through CCUS, through geothermal energies and other new energy aspects. So I think as we progress towards 2050, which is most of the governments have committed, the net zero towards 2050, the time progression for the next 10 years, we'll see more initiatives, to decarbonize, and the oil and gas sector will play key role of decarbonizing the industry.
Thank you very much. As you see, we have done the icebreaker question, and as expected, I guess the answers that we received from our August panel is sort of, framing it very nicely, saying that there's still lots more to do in Pakistan, lots of unexplored areas still available. The fabric of the energy industry, oil and gas in Pakistan might look a bit different 10 years from now, with some other plays coming in, like the geothermal or other aspects. And then the aspect of decarbonization or the reduced environmental footprint will end up, of course, being part of the energy fabric in Pakistan as well. And this puts us very nicely to the next question that I will, put to Fahim Saab, that as we look at these exploration activities, they are majority coming in offshore or high-risk areas. So how do we improve the economics of drilling successfully in these high-risk plays?
Right. So Pakistan is one of the most difficult areas with regards to drilling, regardless you're talking about the northern areas or areas in Balochistan or even in Sindh. Majority of the drilling is very, very difficult because of the geological setting we are dealing with. Having said that, I'm actually also disappointed that some of the things we are doing in terms of drilling and completion are more or less what we were doing 30, 40 years ago. So there are loads of technologies which are available for many, many years. We have not implemented them in Pakistan. For example, logging while drilling, managed pressure drilling, underbalanced drilling, using odd size of casings to secure the hole which you have drilled. How do we deal with our mud systems? How do we deal with our cementing problems? I mean, every area we end up having a challenge. If we drill well, then we can't cement it properly. If we decide to use water-based mud, then we can't reach the target. And what I have seen is that sometimes we are penny wise and pound foolish. I mean, we have tried to change that approach, how we look at our drilling strategy and drilling planning in Maari Petroleum, and we have seen some really good successes. Of course, the new technologies offered by Schlumberger with well plan and making use of AI and machine learning is also helping a lot. But that is something which is very, very new. But I'm talking about relatively old established technologies like LWD and having multiple casing strings available, that if you are stuck going below a certain depth, then you can secure what you have drilled and then go and drill deeper. So these are the things which we need to look at. I mean, I'll just give you one example. We drilled our first well in Waziristan. It took us over 300 days. Second well, we have TD'd more or less in half the time. I mean, MOL recently drilled a well in their Thal block, which they had exceptional performance because they had learned, after drilling few wells in that area. So if you plan and execute the things in the right way, I think, we can certainly bring a lot of improvement in our drilling business. And we also need to encourage services companies to bring in new technology, pay them on time, stay engaged with their senior management. And right now, obviously, last year and a half, We have another challenge that, people can't even take their money out of Pakistan. But I think that is a temporary problem. The bigger problem is that we, as Masood Sahab had just said earlier, we are not prepared to take risk. And if we would not take the risk, the technology will not be developed and will not be implemented. Murray Field, we had 118 wells. And I kept asking the question why we haven't drilled any horizontal well in this field. We could have developed this field with 20, 25 wells if we had used the technology which was even established, a long time back. So my request to the drillers is, and the people who look after drilling, that, take risk, bring the technology, and make the best use of it. And management should support that.
Thank you very much, Fahim Saab. So I think leads to the question that I would like to ask Masood Saab. We talked about bringing technology in the country, and of course it's a high-risk place as well. So this requires investment. So Masood Saab, what do you think needs to improve in the regulatory framework in Pakistan to allow more investment or easier investment in the high-risk place?
Frankly, I don't think you're looking for the answer I'm about to give. I don't think there is a massive change required in the regulatory environment. The change that is required is in the mindset of people, whether they belong to the industry or in the government sector. Okay. And so I talked about risk taking. And I'll give you a question that I put to one of the gentlemen I met around lunchtime. And I asked him, if I have the latest iPhone in one hand and an unmarked box in the other hand, which one will you take? Naturally, the iPhone. That gives you the sense of how much risk people are willing to take. So if you transform it onto the E&P sector, people would rather drill in a proven play than go find a new play. Yeah. And that's what we've seen. The moment you make a discovery in a new play type, and that discovery is large, people line up to get blocks because the play is proven. Right? So the mindset actually needs to change. Now, given that, so let's assume the mindset has changed. So what next? What comes next is the technology. I feel there is an aversion to use new technology. And again, I'll give you a story from my early career. So my first 13 years were with Pakistan Petroleum Limited. And I mentioned this to some gentlemen who are probably sitting in this audience. At that time, I was a young engineer, fresh out of school, a lot of kind of ideas in my head on how things should be done differently. And I pitched one of the ideas to a very senior manager at that time. And his immediate response was, that's not how it's done in Sui. Sui was discovered in the 50s. I was talking to him in the mid-80s, 30 years apart. We're still doing the same thing over and over again. Real aversion. Yeah. Even today, within my own organization, for the last couple of years, I've been trying to push AI and machine learning. Yeah? Really struggling with it. Unless we start to adopt technology That technology is available in the world, not in Pakistan. We will have to bring it in. Or we'll have to go out, learn, and then bring that skill set back in. Okay. Doing what we're doing, the way we've been doing for the last 60, 70 years, nothing will change. Yeah? So just one last thing. Again, coming back to risk, the mindset, why we don't adopt new technology, because there is a risk involved in it. Why don't we say we want to bring foreign investment, but when the foreign investment comes in, we say no, thank you. We've seen that a number of times. Even with big players. I'll start off with Shell trying to buy PPL. What would PPL look like if it was now Shell in Pakistan? Yeah? BP taking the largest offshore acreage in Pakistan. Exxon coming in, at that time requesting, please give us blocks, we want to explore. Didn't work out. Exxon is not interested in 25% working interest, non-operated in a small block. That mindset needs to change. The aversion to change, the aversion to accept new technology, the aversion to accept new players entering, the aversion to us doing different things. My friend talked about producing fields. Yeah? We produce them in the same manner for the last 50 years. What is the new technology that has been adopted by the industry in Pakistan? I'm not talking about specifics. So unless we change that mindset, outcome will be the same that we've seen for the last 50 years. Thank you.
No, thank you, Masood Sahab. I think, what we are seeing repeatedly in the answers from the leadership team here is that the environment is there. Basically, we have the assets available, we have the reserves available. It's basically the will to take the risk. And I think, as Amir Sahab also mentioned, that it's the high risk, high reward. And we are in the environment right now where, without taking those calculated risks by the companies, by the individuals to let the technology come into the country, we cannot take that leap of faith that we need to take. And Masood Sahab talked about the producing fields as well. So I'll just lead that to the next question, Amir Sahab, with you, because OGDCL has a number of mature fields that you have access to. So how do you think we can improve the incremental production from those mature fields? Because these could be the low-hanging fruit that we can have access to very quickly.
I think, so just to quickly pick up on the, before I get to the answer this question, like what Masood Sahab and Fahim Sahab said, certainly I think that's the message, that if there is going to be one takeaway for a lot of people in the audience, especially, sitting from the NOCs, is that you have to do that innovation, you have to take that risk. And if you would not do that, then obviously the results will be the same. So coming to your point, so certainly I think this is an area where it's also, certainly surprises me and a lot of other professionals as well, that with us sitting on such a large basin, large field, what have we done about it? There's a lot of oil that we have left in the ground for a number of years. But the good thing is that, the positive thing about is that the realization came in, especially in the last 1 year, and we started looking at it in a more systematic manner at OGDCL, what we would do. Among the roles that we have in our day-to-day roles, all the firefighting roles that we carry in various positions. So early this year, there was a decision made by the company to make a working group for production optimization. And this is the dedicated group that was formed, and it has multidisciplinary people from the reservoir team as well, production team as well. And they started looking at, what we can do, because this is a question which is going on, 8% decline on production. So various technologies were identified, various areas were identified in terms of pressure decline fields. So there are a couple of examples that I can provide, and the results that it is bearing for us now. So we look at the artificial lift system, And we have installed 4 ESPs so far, and there's a plan to install another 10 ESPs. So out of these 4 ESPs, the incremental production that we get in terms of the enhanced oil recovery is about 4,000 barrels of oil. So that's just the first in the last 2 years that OGDC have first time moved to the artificial lift system in terms of ESP, and you can see the increment is humongous for us. Then we started also looking at in terms of water injection, some polymer injection. So there are some studies going on. The other thing which we have already, we are now in the process of doing, and we have already awarded a contract to a reputed international company, is the organic oil recovery. So that's another area, you know, where you inject the molecules, bacteria basically into the system, and you change the resident ecology of the reservoir, which allows you to produce the tertiary oil and gas. So we have identified 10 different wells in north, in south and north of Pakistan, and the samples have already been collected, and soon we will be starting this campaign as well with the company that we have selected. So there are these innovative ways available, there are these technologies available, and with this we believe that, you know, we have a good midterm 2 to 5 years of plan available in terms of optimizing and in the multiple fields that we are sitting. Another area which is the debottlenecking of the area. I mean, there is a Mela field that we have, and we have realized that the wells are sitting low in the valley, the plant is above, and there is a serious issue of debottlenecking. So sometimes it's a very simple solution, but people have to come up, people have to come forward. And I think the onus is on the leadership team today sitting in those reservoir and production and drilling departments to encourage and allow those younger people to talk about it, and let them work on the solutions. And I think we have to go away from that fear and apprehension, you know, what could go wrong. We need to support those people, even if they fail, if they make a mistake, let them fail, you know, but allow them to come up with these collaborative efforts with the service companies or technology. You know, we go to different forums. Recently we've been EDIPAC, and it's quite difficult, you know, when you go as a Pakistani over there and you see that the way world is progressing and technology is deployed, and we are talking about a lot of primitive issues and unable to move, you know, in a reasonable pace. So I think we have started showing these results in last 1 year, and I think we have a decent plan in place to move on this brownfield development.
No, very, very glad to hear about the initiatives, and I think rightly put, you know, for Pakistan, every molecule of hydrocarbon that we can produce from the entire value chain, from upstream all the way down to the downstream, is important. So, G, please.
Sorry, I just want to add what Amir was saying regarding production optimization. So we, in the last 3 years, have increased our production by 12%, and it's 12% of 100,000 BOE per day. And this is without bringing in any new discoveries on production. So we've done a lot of things which Amir is just mentioning in terms of production optimization, debottlenecking, compression, connectivity with the market, drilling additional wells into the existing fields, maximizing their production. So there, you know, there are a lot of things which can be done if management supports and gives people an opportunity to come up with ideas and then implement those ideas to bring the real change.
Thank you, Fahim Sahab. I think the theme very clearly states that, you know, you need to bring efficiency in the system, and everywhere you can bring the efficiency gives you incremental production. It doesn't have to be purely on the upstream new exploration. It can be from the existing facilities and existing debottlenecking of the systems as well. So Fahim Sahab, when we look at these opportunities, especially when we talk about mature fields or brownfields as well, globally we see one of the easy vehicles for the brownfield development has always been smaller independents or the private equity coming in and taking their share and then jump starting the brownfield to the next level. So what do you think needs to be done in Pakistan to attract more private equity and more private investment in the oil and gas sector?
Sure. Thanks, sir. It's a very important question, and I would rather, before answering that, I would like to understand first of all that we need to understand why the big oil companies have left Pakistan. And that's the biggest question that we should have an answer. There's a myth in the industry also that all the big fixtures, big companies have left Pakistan due to the security conditions or due to the regulatory issues or ease of doing business, this and that. But I certainly believe that working with the legacy of ENI, because as Masood have said, he has a legacy of BP, so I have a legacy of working with ENI. And I have worked in countries which have far more serious security concerns, first of all, and then far more difficult regulatory regimes and all those things. So what really is the reason for that? And in our opinion is maybe that we are not able to portray the right geology of Pakistan, and the right geology of Pakistan can only be portrayed if we have a good data set there. So if we see the history of Pakistan, so I always say that God has blessed Pakistan with Sui at the birth of Pakistan, in the middle of Pakistan. If you just made out the center of Pakistan, Sui is just in the middle of Pakistan, and we have been blessed with Sui with such a huge field just at the birth of Pakistan. And after that, we are only focusing on this oil corridor, which starts from, let's say, Badin Lower Indus Basin, and then we start to move a little bit on the Suleiman and then go in the north. So as Minister Saab also said, and we also know that 70% of Pakistan is not yet known to us. And why it is not known to us? Because we have some certain issues where we cannot portray that, present that geology to the world, and unfortunately the world is not giving us that sort of a room to present it in that way. So it's quite a let's call it cat and mouse situation, that first of all we are not able as a country to demonstrate that there could be possible new plays available in the high risk area, because once you say, as Fahim Saab also said, that the high risk areas have their own issues in acquiring the data set first. So the exploring starts with the data set itself. So in the world, it's not a unique problem that we have in Pakistan. So let me be very clear on that. And all the new players started with this concept that people are hesitant to go there. So it's not a new thing. And how they managed to solve it. One of the possible way to solve this is by acquiring multi-client data sets. And it's quite common in the world that people, governments ask the service companies to acquire those multi-client data sets. And those multi-client data sets can be available to the market, to the consortiums, to the big companies, and then you market your plays. Nobody is going to come without you as industry, and as Masood Sir rightly said, that the mindset needs to be changed, and the mindset, the big ideas come in the mind first, and if you have the mindset there, then you can create that. And for getting new ideas there, you need those multi-client data sets. And now the question is, who is going to invest on those multi-client data sets? And I have an answer to that. We can either convince the service companies to invest, and of course, service companies could be hesitant to it, and then again we have a problem. Or the government can invest upfront and then make the bid rounds more rigorous, more frequent. So I think after maybe 20 years this year, 2023, this is the first year that we are getting the second bid round, which is, I congratulate all the ministry and all the concessionaries, I mean all the industry that we have this thing. So people must have this bid round stuff, and once that bid round is there, you can ask those companies who have been awarded there to pay the cost of that to the either the companies or to the governments. So this is a very usual, very let's call it way to portray and to present Pakistan's place, because as we said that the geology of Pakistan, Allah has blessed us with such a nice geology. We are at the junction of two plates, we know as all subsurface place people. But have we tried to portray that? Yes, we tried, but not by saying only. We need to demonstrate that by acquiring some reconnaissance data sets. It could be some 2D seismics, some integration of the satellite imagery, some other data set, and then portray it as one team for Pakistan. It's not something that UP is saying or Prime is saying or Mari is saying. We must go for a consortium, and that is the way forward. That's, I believe, is something we should consider.
Well, thank you very much. I think, the theme again, basically, it's what you mentioned is there is an 8-older dash, the data is king, right? So essentially, all the decisions are taking place based on data, and that requires, especially with the advance of technology now, we have more opportunity to acquire data faster and better than what we could do before as well. So absolutely well said, and that attracts the investment at the right levels, because the risk, again, is better defined for the investors, whether local or outside. So Hilal, I'll come to you with this theme as well, taking forward with these technologies that we have talked about. You've looked at the opportunities that Masood Saab, Fahim Saab, Amir and Subhani Saab has mentioned as well. So as a service company, when you hear these stories, how do you see a service company like SLB 5 to 10 years from now in Pakistan?
Thank you, Zoro. Actually, as a technology company that drives innovation for a balanced planet, we are trying to work on the three aspects, again, which is the sustainability, the affordability, and the basically reliability of the energy to the industry. And this is, these three elements, I can summarize that on our focus areas, which is the core, which is that we are very well known for in terms of industry, the normal services that we provide in terms of the wireline, and the LWD, MWD, the cementing, and so on. And what is we are investing on is how to provide those core services to our basically customers and the producers in an efficient and basically a sustainable way to help basically the economics of any projects that customers are working on. And the other element that we are working as well on to develop is digitalization of the oil field, both, starting from production, drilling, right, and planning of the drilling, all the way to the production, right? As we have seen in many areas that digitalization of the oil field industry and utilization of AI, machine learning, and so on does help basically create the right efficiencies and reduces the basically the carbon footprint. And the third element that is we are focusing on globally, and some aspect of it basically as well in Pakistan, is the new energy. And the new energy basically we have a couple of elements on it. One is the geothermal, that SLB is very well positioned to support the industry on that, to help the energy mix with the very long-standing experience globally. The second one is basically that we are looking into is CCUS, and this is part of the decarbonization of the industry, or basically CCS, through different workflows that we can support the industry in. And they basically, the others, which is basically there is not much of focus right now here on Pakistan, or I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it will come with time, which is energy storage, right, with the mix and the extraction of critical minerals, which is lithium, from different aspects. And the last one, the last focus area, which is the hydrogen. That is, we have a global focus on it as well, in terms of providing basically the electrolyzers to extract hydrogen basically with the most effective and efficient way. The last but not least, one of the focus areas that we are working on is to decarbonize operations through multiple elements, basically through the products that we do provide. We are working on providing the right, basically, products to reduce basically the footprint of our services, and as well as basically some other services related to methane monitoring, and I mean for both fugitive and non-fugitive methane, as the impact of methane is much more compared to the CO2. However, one element that I would like to mention is, I mean, the economics of technology development and deployment in any location needs to have the right mix between the basically the volumes, between the you know, like the appetite of the customers to deploy, and versus the right economics that basically to reduce, you know, like the cost per barrel, and I mean for both the operators and the service companies.
No, thank you. So I think, as Sumayya Saab mentioned, and you as well, I think, again, the theme that we are also looking at here is that in order for us to have a more resilient industry, the relationship between multiple players in the industry has to be more robust, you know, in terms of not only knowledge sharing, but maybe even expanding to the level of, as you use the word consortium, for example, right? Because some of the initiatives may not be able to be led by one company alone, and they can be much more shared initiatives across the industry, maybe with multiple players taking their role in it, which also helps the service companies to then have the economy of scale required to bring the technologies in as well. So I'll just change the gear a little bit here, Fahim Saab, and I know when we talk about the explored, the unexplored, we have touched base on the high-risk onshore plays and the brownfields. But one of the themes that we have constantly now started hearing for Pakistan is offshore. So what do you think is required for Pakistan to attract and develop the offshore part of the business in the country over the next 5 to 10 years?
Right. So there must be many other people in this room who could answer that question better than I do. So my first reaction to your question is, you know, let's first focus on the remaining conventional onshore potential and make sure we exhaust that, because offshore, even if you spud the well today, by the time you're going to be bringing it on production is going to be 7 to 8 years. And the investment which is going to be needed, if all the 4 national companies, you know, pool together, they would struggle to even finance one development on their own. So first thing first we need to do, which has already been discussed by some of the panelists, is to, you know, put our data set together. The failure of Kekra has put a big question mark on the prospectivity of our offshore basins, especially the Indus in the deep water. We need to make use of all the data which is available and come up with the geological models on the concepts which we can go and sell to these big companies. Masood Saab was taking their names. So first, what is the size of the prize we are talking about? What do we have in terms of geological models for the turbidites? What do we have for carbonates? Is the data supporting our story or not? What kind of fiscal regime we are offering? How does this compare with other countries? The investors are willing to go and spend money. What kind of political landscape we have in Pakistan? Obviously, things like Recordec do not portray a nice picture about Pakistan, and the political landscape is also. So we even today for onshore investment, which requires a fraction of the cost. I mean, we as a country would not even pass the screening criteria for some of the reasonable sized big companies. But if you want to bring companies for offshore, some have niche deep water experience, some are specialized in turbidites, and there are very few. You can count them on your fingertips. So we need to do first our homework, right? Put everything together, and we are working with the ministry on that. We are supporting together with OGDCL and PPL and GHPL to come up with a data set, come up with a geological story which is sellable, and it has to be linked with the fiscal story. What do we offer in terms of commercial viability for somebody to come and invest $100 million, $200 million in a well, and then commit to a 10 billion development? Can we offer them the market to sell that gas? So this is for me something which is for future. We should continue working all the basic elements which are needed to be worked on this, and focus on our current conventional and tight gas potential. So the money which we can generate from there is going to fund the capex which are needed for offshore. Because it's very easy to say, we are launching a bid round, and the 3-4 companies should pick up the blocks and go and drill. I mean, we did some preliminary evaluation. I mean, we are talking about billions of dollars to bring one offshore project on production, and the time span is there, is 7 to 10 years from first award of the license until you see first gas. So just need to bring some realism in our thinking, but do it the right way, and do how Egypt has done it, do it how Indonesia has done it, how Guyana has done it. I mean, there are many examples worldwide where people have done it the right way.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head, Fahim Saab. And basically, the crux is that you're sitting on the reserves, and if we can optimize those existing reserves that you have and generate the right cash flow available to you to be going into the higher risk plays like the offshore, but going at the expense of what you have available in hand right now and not fully explored. So I think that balance that you talked about is very rightly pointed out as well. So Masood Saab, I'll just take the next question to you. I think we looked at now UEP in the recent bidding rounds that we talked about as well has started looking at a bit more towards the Balochistan region as well in terms of the bids. What do you think, what's UEP's appetite in terms of actually going aggressively into more high risk areas and high risk plays in Pakistan?
So I'll talk more generally and then specific about UEP, and start with an analogy. So if you want to sell something, you should be able to describe it properly, especially its better attributes. Unfortunately, E&P companies purely focused on E&P, they're not very good at marketing. We need to learn from service companies like Schlumberger. But on the
Clap on this, it's okay.
But on the other hand, the governments themselves are not at all marketing companies. So they're not able to market the resource that exists. And somehow, what I've seen over the years, we are very, very shy in asking for help. We'd rather do it ourselves, fail, do it again, fail, do it again, fail, than go and ask for help and get it done much quicker. Okay. And that's the case with the onshore exploration piece as well. Yes, there have been studies that have been conducted. So data availability, the last based model study that was conducted, you have to buy it at a relatively reasonable cost. Okay. Somebody sitting outside not interested in Pakistan, why would he want to buy it? It needs to be given to him. That basin study needs to be marketed so that the potential is marketed. And you're able to attract people based on the potential. As far as risk is concerned, it's directly tied to the reward. Yeah. If the reward is big enough, companies will take risk. We have not been able to market the reward adequately. And some of us, when I talk to people, believe that the reward is not big, only to be proven wrong later. So that's kind of at a much higher level. UEP as a company is a small to medium-sized independent. Okay. We're not the BPs and the Exxons and the Shells. And I was mentioning even BP, when we were part of BP, BP's hurdle rate for on chance of success for exploration wells was 80%. They would not drill an exploration well which was less than 80% COS. Yes, they applied a lot of technology to bring that COS up to 80%, but if it was less, they would not drill it. UEP as a company, much smaller. And like they say, for exploration, you need to have very deep pockets. Our pockets are not as deep. So we prefer to move into plays which at least the petroleum system is proven. We will not go into plays where there is an unproven petroleum system. There was a question about data. So who actually collects data? Who proves the petroleum system? My question to that is, who is the ultimate beneficiary of what is produced? The ultimate beneficiary is the country. So it falls back, and it's the country's need to increase domestic production. Therefore, it falls back on the country to actually acquire that data, make sure that the petroleum systems are proven. And yes, after that, once the petroleum system is proven, after that, you go and market that petroleum system to attract additional investment in, to further explore and develop, for which capital is not available in the country. In the past, so having said that we're a small independent, in the past 10 years, we've spent about $4 billion in Pakistan. Yeah. Not a small amount. We currently have 6 new exploration concessions. We're looking to add more. And that is all on the basis of what Fahim was mentioning. We have existing production. We're able to self-finance that exploration piece. Okay. But if you want to bring somebody new in, then they need to, the risk needs to be reduced as much as you can, and you need to offer them freely and openly all the data packaged in a manner where that resource potential is marketed. Remember, you're competing with the offshore Egypt, Cyprus, Guyana, all of those. Right? Offshore itself in Pakistan, unproven. The petroleum system is not proven. We've drilled over a dozen wells. Somehow, the objective was to the objective never was to prove the petroleum system. It was to try and discover hydrocarbons. And even after, I think, 16, 17 odd wells, we have still not proven the petroleum system. And we're still at a very, very nascent stage of exploration in the offshore. I have myself seen, because being Heritage BP shot the largest 3D offshore Indus. I have myself seen bright spots on that seismic. But what are those bright spots? Are they DHIs? Or are they other anomalies? We don't know. Because the petroleum system is not proven, the risk to drill a well was not taken. Okay? And so, coming back, to UEP, we've now started to kind of step out because we have existing production. We're able to generate enough cash flow to finance the exploration. And whatever, more or less whatever cash flow we're generating, we're applying back. On the average, we drill about 20 to 30 wells every year. And next year also, we've got a similar plan. And yes, we are stepping out, but unexplored, where the petroleum system is not proven, UEP will not go there.
Thank you, sir. So I think one of the messages that we heard from Masood Sahab also is that you know what you know, but do the others know what you know? Because that is where I think the sellability of the data that we have to an investor, whether it is within Pakistan or outside. So I think the next question is a very interesting question as well. And, you know, for Amir Sahab, I think what I would like to ask, I mean, if I'm putting you in a spot, my apologies, but what does OGDCL look like a decade from now?
Yeah, so Zoro, I realize that you will be putting me on spot, you know, asking me difficult questions. But I think it's important to have a bit of a perspective building here. And before that, I mean, you know, as they say that you can have your opinion, but you cannot have your own facts. So if you look at the company today, you know, 10 years ago, what OGDCL was, you know, we were a company which had a valuation of close to $1 trillion rupees in the market. That's 2013. And obviously with the dollar parity, you can figure out, you know, $1 trillion dollar company. And now we are sitting 2023 in with a 1/3 of that valuation. So what is happening? You know, what's the perspective? You know, we are still the company in Pakistan, which is basically, as of present, producing the 50% of the oil of the country that, you know, it produces, and 30% of the gas. There are a lot of headwinds, there are a lot of issues that we face while operating in this current scenario. You know, one of it, which everybody is aware, is the circular debt, which has taken a very serious opportunity cost out from us. Serious security issues, 8% decline on our portfolio, or production decline. But despite that, I think it's important to note that over the last 5 years, we have seen a 14% growth on our top line, continuously growing, and 13% in our profit on an average per annum basis in our profitability. So we are a huge company, we have a lot of momentum, and from here, with this decline, that some of the points that I mentioned earlier about the production optimization, we will still not be able to arrest those declines despite making those efforts. So where do we go? What do we do from now for the next 10 years? So obviously this discussion has come into play, and there is a serious rethinking going on within the organization with the management level, and that strategy has been developed, and it will soon be basically presented to the board of directors as well. And part of that strategy, we are looking at two main aspects. One is basically that we identify the risk and the challenges that we have with our current portfolio, and then we define the way forward on our current portfolio. What do we do? And the second one is basically that how do we do the transition from an E&P company to an energy company? And so in terms of giving an example, some of the mantras that we had in the past were about drill, baby, drill. So we would be very happy if we just continue to drill. And one of the things that we were always told is drill, baby, drill. And that mantra is gone. We are not going to just embark on drilling everywhere, anywhere. So we will be looking at those high risk, high reward. And in terms of the marginal fields, we will be more focused on where we get the reward on that. So that is a very clear part of our strategy. Then obviously, in terms of the governance, if you look at the governance of the OGDCL, it's very important that we are innovative, we go for the operation excellence, and we come out of the shell, where we have the risk taking, we have the innovation, and we have the right skill for the job. I mean, we have a disproportionate staffing in our organization, and we have not been able to groom our people. We have very serious gaps in our succession planning as of today, which we see especially at the senior level. I mean, there's a continuous retirement every second month or a month. We have a retirement coming up. Succession plannings have to be bridged, and we need to have an operation excellence plan. What Mausuf Saab is saying is absolutely true, that without we have to focus on the digital transformation, because that part does not exist with us today. So we have to move on this digital transformation, looking at the data and working with that data. Conventional wisdom has taken us so far. What we have done in terms of conventional wisdom, a lot of people have put their sweat and blood in bringing this company to where it is. And I think for the younger people, for the group of people coming in, need to go out of that shell, look at the digital transformation, AI, build from there. In terms of the transition, so there is no switch, there is no on-off switch. It has to be a very orderly transition. We will be focused on the exploration activities, and meanwhile, as a company, recognizing that we cannot remain insular to our surrounding, we have already looking at a couple of initiatives, which is, I think geothermal was mentioned by Lal. So OGDC has already embarked on the geothermal initiative. We are already sort of moving into the second phase of this discussion. Obviously, there's some confidentiality of the data which I cannot disclose, but we are moving into the geothermal part of it. We have already stepped out into the PIOL with diversification. That's the ADNOC block that we are looking at. We have signed MOUs with number of other companies within Pakistan in terms of producing the hydrogen. All these things will come in 10 years. I mean, those hydrogen and those, because there is a very substantial cost, and I think as of today, the levelized cost of electricity is so high that we'll not be able to do that. So I think all these things, we need to have this strategy with this clarity, and I think with that, we move forward into the next 10 years.
Thank you, Amir. I mean, good to hear that, OGDC, as all the other E&P companies that we do see around the world, is abreast to the challenges of the existing development of not easy plays anymore, and then also looking at transitioning to something which will look different than what you look at it today, right? So please go ahead. You wanted to add something.
Just want to add one more thing. I think one thing which we were missing, and we have started slowly, but a lot of work needs to be done, is learning from within the industry. So we had taken the initiative of carrying out a drilling symposium with all the companies invited for the drilling in north, the challenges of drilling in north of Pakistan. And we came out with some staggering numbers of the losses that we have, and there has been no cohesion and no data sharing within the companies. So we are asking for help. I mean, we asked for help from Madi Petroleum, and they were very gracious in giving us a lot of lot of help, opportunity in terms of looking at a production optimization. I think we have a great potential to learn from UEPL, how they're producing from those marginal fields, and so I think we need to go away from being shy, and we should ask for help. I mean, we can be the biggest NOC, but it doesn't mean that we know everything. So there is a big opportunity for us to go and ask for help, and we should not feel bad about it. We should not feel that we should not ask. So I think there's a lot of good stories out in Pakistan. So I would encourage everybody to please ask for help from those companies who have proven on that areas.
Very well stated. So we are on the last two questions with our panelists. So please, if you have any questions, have them ready. We'll have concise questions for 15 to 20 minutes as we move to the next section of the ATC, right? So, Bhai Sahab, as we continue this discussion, right, we talked about de-risking. De-risking would involve technology in some cases as well. Technology often comes at a cost as well. So how do you, answer this question? I would again say age-old question of cost versus technology.
Sure, that's a very good question. Of course, everything has a cost associated with it, and as Masood Saab also said, that especially the exploration part, nobody is going to spend from their own pocket. So whatever we earn, the vision of any company, a good E&P company, is to invest more in the exploration part. And for that, for sure, one of the biggest challenges that we have in recent 1 year or so with the country situation here is that we have the receivables. All of us have, and we should not shy away from it. So one of the biggest thing that the government must do is to get rid of this thing, so which includes the circular debts and also the payments which are due, because no company can sustain without getting the payments on time. So timely payments, I would say, is the biggest concern from the industry point of view. Regarding the technology, of course, the technology has two things in my let's say small career, that the technology can make things happen out of box if you start from any life cycle of the play. So you started with building the play first, making the idea that leads to a lead, then it leads to a prospect, and then you start thinking about drilling. So all these phases needs technology, and technology really is something which can make it more efficiently also. So I may be one of the last generation of the people who used to work and who had work on the seismic paper. So there are people sitting in the audience here who used to work on the seismic paper and interpret by pencils and colors and everything. And we used to take maybe a month to make a map. And later on, today, it's a matter of maybe a day or two to make the same sort of map. So it makes it efficient. So one thing is efficiency, and then once you make on that, then you have to work other steps to make it happen, to mature it more risk-free, and this is where the technology comes in. And sometimes I believe that it's not only the money matters, because at the end of the day, there are examples in the world that you spend maybe a very small amount of money and you get a big reward out of it. So of course there must be a balance there, and being industry, a very big industry, I mean a legacy, as my colleague panelist said, that they have been working here for last 75 years. So there's a big history with us where the service companies are working. And of course they have bigger exposure in the world where they can bring in technology to Pakistan and help this industry to mature the basins in a more sellable place, in more marketable thing, and ultimately these are the things which makes market the country itself. So as rightly said by one of the panelists, that at the end of the day, we are sitting here in order not only to bring business to one individual company, it's ultimately the benefit, the fruit of it is coming to the country itself, because we will be making this indigenous resources, hydrocarbon, which is very, very essential. So the easy way is to get the LNG, and to that's the easiest way, but it's a much more costlier way also. So being a third world country, we must understand that the developing the indigenous resources, which is much less cost-wise, can be very useful for the country to sustain it.
Thank you very much. I think, you talked very rightly about how I would say the environment has changed and the tools available have changed. I'll not be surprised if some of our population here is already typing questions on ChatGPT to understand what's the next question that they might be asking you as part of the audience questions as well. So I will come to the last questions. If you have your ChatGPTs on, or if you have your own minds on, please keep your questions ready, because we'll open the panel for questions as well. So Hilal, just to conclude, basically, as Subhani have also pointed out, coming and presenting a service company, and yourself as well, with your experience outside of Pakistan as well, does some experience come to your mind where somewhere else you have seen incremental production actually changing the game for the country itself?
Thank you, Zoro. So, I mean, talking about technology and incremental production, it's not always that, when you put the latest technology, that means you are improving your production. Actually, it's about selecting the fit for basin or solution that help you achieve what you want to achieve. Right? It's not about X technology and Y technology, and I have seen this in different fields as well, and different customers in the region, where like a field where polymer injection was working very well. Production from that field is like 100,000 barrels, and they had another field. They applied the same technology, right? They could not achieve more than 6,000 barrels. I mean, it's a similar characteristics, but like the solution does not fit the same, brownfield solution to enhance the production. However, like they hand over the same field to another operator, which came up with a solution that is a steam injection solution for enhanced oil recovery. It's not the latest technology; it's technology that has been running, elsewhere for a while. But they managed to increase the production from 6,000 barrels to 100,000, in which they became like second producer in country, just because getting the right technology to produce. And as well, we have seen solutions which is like fields which was not developed when it comes to tight gas due to complexity and technology required, and different operators have actually managed to produce a huge amount of gas and change the country from an importer of LNG to an exporter of LNG with 3 LNG trains. Right. I mean, when looking at the different fields, different reservoirs, some challenges, it can be looked at, well by well basis, which is okay, right? However, production enhancement, I think we need to look at it as a reservoir, as a field, and come up with the right solution for the entire field, and proceed with a high volume, implementation of that solution if it works well. Like a factory drilling, when you do, like a steam injection, for instance, because what you need is the volume, right, to achieve what you would like to achieve. So it depends on the challenge, field to field, reservoir to reservoir. The solution can vary, and you know, it's not always the most expensive or the most latest technology is the best solution. Sometimes, you know, an old solution used elsewhere is the right solution for the challenge.
Thank you very much. So I think, you know, if I conclude, if you look, as you heard the panel as well, right? So I think, and I think this was repeatedly mentioned by the panelists as well, this question comes up during the industry discussions also. Is the oil and gas industry, is Pakistan going to stay 20, 30 years from now? What's the future of the oil and gas industry, especially for the younger students? So I think we have heard very clearly today that the glass is definitely half full. Where there is a will, there is a way. And yes, you will have to take calculated risks to get the reward as well. Before I open for questions, ladies and gentlemen, in front of you, you have the stalwarts of the industry who are keeping Pakistan running, our vehicles running, our communication running, our power running. So please give them a big hand of applause before we start the questions. So I thank the panelists for their answers, patience, and the answers to the questions as well. So we'll open the discussion. Please go ahead. Please, we have the first question.
Assalamu alaikum. So my first question was with to Mr. Fahim.
Can you kindly introduce yourself as well?
Sorry,
please?
sorry. Ali Asfar. I'm part of United Energy Pakistan. I wanted to ask Fahim Saab or Amir Saab. They've presented their view of how the market, the industry may look like in 10 years, and very specifically about how OGDCL would look like in 10 years. My question was there privatization of state-owned organizations part of your 10-year picture? Do you still see the same situation with SSGC, SNGPL, PPL, OGDCL, or do you see privatization coming in a big way? Thank you.
So, I mean, when we build our strategy, it is based on the elements that we control. You know, what falls within our ambit in terms of where we see the company. So this is not including the external factors of privatization or what will happen, what the fiscal regime will look like, or what the political situation will look like, because there are always going to be risk on the ground, political risk and subsurface risk with the reservoirs. So our strategy is based on what we see today and how things are going to pan out. So that risk it may be there, but what is in our control, we build on that basically.
I'll take this moment to ask another small question, and I believe
Please go ahead.
Zuraiz or Hilal may not like it. We visit many.
I'm the moderator, so I won't answer the questions.
Yes,
I'll
yes.
pass it to the panelists.
Yeah, it is for the panelists. I visited many countries, and a number of countries more challenged than Pakistan. But I see a very concentrated, focused effort for local content, be it services, be it materials, be it technology, be it anything, a human resource. Why is there no initiative when we talk about the industry coming together, sharing data, the industry coming together, sharing ideas? What stops us by coming together and developing local manufacturing? I mean, when we drill a well, from mud to cement to chemicals to tubing, casing, surface equipment, everything is imported. We drilled hundreds of wells. What stops us from going to the market, finding out who can manufacture, who can produce those chemicals here, and try and build the market? This is vertical integration. You can call it leveraging our activity. What stops us from doing that? Thank you.
No, I think it's a very, very valid question. So Hilal, maybe you can take it. I think I understand there are initiatives like ICTWA and ICV, which we do look at in GCC countries, for example. So I think you can please answer the question.
Actually, it is a very, very good question, and thank you for asking it. It is a very important thing, and it's part of our DNA to invest where we operate. So today, SLB is contributing to the employment of 1,500 employees, local employees, with more than 99% of locals, right? This is the population who operates in Pakistan. However, the number of Pakistanis globally that operates for SLB, part of our talent management plan and career development, is much, much more, right? So this is when it comes to the people aspect. So we are committed to invest on the people and resources where we operate, and this will never change. The second element when it comes to the supply chain, right? Indeed, you know, in certain areas of the region, we do have much more localization compared to the other areas of the region, right? And this is driven with the lots of other factors, you know, to take that business decision. I will give an example, right? In Oman, we do have an assembly line for ESP, which cannot cover the, you know, like the entire scope of Oman, and we still import. So we assemble in Oman 360 pumps per year, but it's not enough. I still import to cover the demand for the country, right? So the economy of scale that we have does make sense to do the assembly of those pumps locally, right, compared to the others. Similarly, for, you know, like some countries, we do have wellheads manufacturing that we sell, but we install more than 1,000 wellheads per year. So the cost of putting a plant together, populations, machines, will make me still competitive compared to the imported products. Today, if I put that manufacturing facility, for example, here in Pakistan, the cost of importing the same product, let's say, from the region, from China, from you know, Southeast Asia, is much cheaper versus if I do manufacture it locally, because the economy of scale does not support to have that manufacturing plant. What we are hopeful that, you know, with the discussion that I'm hearing today about the tight gas policy and the other basically initiatives that the ministry and the operators are working on, that basically the volume will be good enough to start localizing some of the local manufacturing of supply chain within the region.
Thank you, Hilal.
Thank you.
So we welcome our chief guest as well. Secretary Saab is here, so thank you very much, Secretary Saab. We'll continue with the panel discussion. Honor to have you at the end of the panel as well, sir. So please, sir, Fareed Saab, please questions.
Fareed Siddiqui. I quite often hear about our companies changing into energy companies and all those things. I think in Pakistan we have still, as we discussed today, a lot of things to find in hydrocarbons themselves. If we start talking about taking our companies into energy companies, we may lose the focus of exploring for hydrocarbons here. I think we have enough hydrocarbons to be found in Pakistan and even in the world. And as we saw yesterday, Wood Mackenzie, or I think they have, whoever was there from the, they said that there is still a lot of oil and gas to be produced, and there is a big market still available for next 15, 20 years. So moving away for Pakistani companies, moving away from hydrocarbons into energy, I think they will lose their sight. They will continue focusing on hydrocarbons because there is still a lot of market for it and a lot of potential for it. Thank you.
Thank you. So maybe Masood Saab, you can take this question, please.
So globally there is a push for transformation, and you're absolutely right. It's not necessary that you convert or transform an E&P company into an energy company. But there are obvious skill sets which have similarities. There are some which don't. And for those where you don't have the skill set, you have to go external. So essentially, it's the policy that, or the strategy that the individual company needs to follow. Okay. I'll give you our own example, United Energy. So we've got multiple segments within the United Energy Group. The E&P segment is separate, renewables is separate. But renewables gets a lot of support from the E&P segment. Okay. What that does, keeping those two segments, is E&P keeps focus on their own priorities, renewables have their own priorities. But as far as support is concerned, that is commonly shared, and it's free to move from one segment to the other. So, not necessary that you transform it as a single unit. Within that unit, like you've got within E&P companies, you've got various departments based on the skills. You could have renewables as well. And within renewables, the multiple facets of renewables. And still retain the edge for E&P.
Excuse me.
So we'll take two more questions, guys. It's just two more questions, please. So you and then yourself, sir. So first question from the front row, and then the gentleman in the back over there. Please, sir, go ahead.
Ji, Shariq Hashmi from Pakistan Petroleum. Production optimization certainly is part of base management, and it's always required to maintain production from a certain field. But looking at the energy demand, we have to have a step change, a step growth in the hydrocarbon. So for that, we have to explore more. And we were discussing the offshore. We have drilled a very few number of wells. 16, 18 wells is nothing in such bigger area. And we also talk about marketing. So until unless we do something in ourselves within the country to produce more data, to prove the place for the international companies to be attracted in. So it will not be marketed. We will not be successful in that. So especially the state-owned companies and the companies operating in Pakistan have more responsibilities to make efforts, to make joint ventures, form consortiums, and other ways. And our regulator also has some part. And similarly, the circular debt issue has to be resolved so that we can proceed and prove these plays, and we will be able to market successfully to the international companies.
Thank you, sir. Subhani Sahab, I think it's in line with what you were mentioning in terms of data availability. So you just want to add 1 minute of some comments here?
Yes, thanks for the comment. Actually, I mean, this is the basics that the data availability itself, especially in the areas which are considered to be frontier areas or high-risk areas, because if you go into the history, so once Middle Indus was also considered to be unexplored because there was no activity there, and then we started to work on it. Same goes with the fold belt areas, or either it is Kirthar fold belt or it is Kohat fold belt. So once those were also barren areas, so somebody has taken the risk by doing some crazy idea, or the idea which was taken birth in the minds, first of all. So we need to be innovative, first of all, and start to get the ideas generated, and then going for the data itself. So as you rightly said, we need that data set, and as I have pointed out, one way to get that data set is to have this multi-client service.
Thank you. So we're going to take one last question. We had a lucky gentleman in the back already identified. So please go ahead.
This is Rana Faisal Shazam from OGDCL. As the theme is like clearly explaining exploring the unexplored high risk potential. Sorry. And as you all, the panelists agreed, and we all also agreed, Pakistan has a lot of potential still to be explored. But at the same time, what we experiencing, a lot of companies have gone through from Pakistan, and we have whatever left is on the panelist. So what do you think still what is lacking in our geological point of view, technical point of view. The companies are not interested in more in the bidding rounds, because I'm not concerning about for the next coming 10 years. I'm also concerning about the youth, which is currently passing out from their universities. What they having hopes for their jobs as well. What is their employment, and what you are going to as a company going to have the policy to unexplore these high risk potential. Sorry. So thank you.
So Amir sir, please, if you can, I think because it encompasses, bidding rounds, the plays in the bidding rounds, the participation, as well as the employability of the new generation coming up. So please, that will be good concluding remarks as well.
Yes, right. I mean, in terms of the bidding round, as we see that we continue to participate, and there is a more healthy inflow of the bidding round which is happening. So I think that's something we continue to participate, and we have even in joint ventures going into that. So there will be a very aggressive approach in terms of participating and getting more concessions and go aggressive on that. In terms of your other question, I think we have discussed it in terms of our panel discussion, that we have to be innovative. We have to come out and look out for those ideas. There could be a small idea, there could be one bottlenecking of the field, there could be one particular well. I mean, we had a well where we were able to produce significantly increasing the production. So I think for the younger generation which are coming up, as I mentioned also in my comments about the upskilling, so you look at those areas, just don't remain very, very conventional. I mean, I'm part of the advisory board on NAD University, Department of Petroleum Engineering, and I keep talking to them that they have to come up with curriculums. The onus is also on the universities to upskill the students. Sometimes the students have an opportunity to come and visit us. Those visits have to be very meaningful. They are just not like a jolly for the students. So this is very important. The onus is on mainly the academia and the organization relationship, and that relationship has not been very active in Pakistan, and the academia industry relationship has to improve. I mean, there has to be more of us going to the academia and talking to them, explaining them what is needed. There has to be some projects. I mean, the students have to be given certain projects in terms of their development, that how they do in their final years, and those projects. There are a lot of opportunities that we have that we cannot solve ourselves. And I think globally, if you see, there are a lot of problems go to the universities to solve. So I think that element has to come in, and there has to be a more stronger relationship between the universities and the industry, which is currently not very strong. That's what my take on it.
I think this is a very, very apt concluding comment for this panel as well. There is not only hope for the industry, I think we are looking upwards with the right amount of risk and reward mechanism that we can employ. There's lots to discover, lots of efficiencies to be gained, and for the youth sitting out there as well, this is an industry you can proudly be part of for the next few decades to come, with the learning process that comes with it and the transition. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we'll come to the conclusion of the panel. Please put your hands together for our very, very august panel and beautiful answers as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.